it will it will surely go into other countries, including Ghana, our dear Ghana. So it is not the case of Nigeria alone, but Ghana could be affected. Other countries in the ECOWAS region could be affected if changes are not made in Nigeria.
I see. Let me go now to Mr. Nas Sando. The issue of West Africa and the oppression of, if you like, supposed terrorist groups like Ansar-id-Din, movement of the defenders of the faith. When you have names such as this, where they're called defenders of the faith, but of course they are also preaching very salient, if you like, things like equity in terms of the poor wanting to be rich because they also have to be made rich. How do we draw the balance? Because once some of them are preaching, of course, issues of defending of the faith, the Islamic faith, yet they also have a message that touches base with people, and they are roped in, and it becomes confusion, and people are attacked. Tell me about the experience with you and how you've been able to connect with the interfaith dialogues that you've had with your organization.
Yes, thank you so much. If you look at the issue of these terrorist organizations within the sub-region and beyond, it is important to understand that terrorism from time immemorial was confined within the local level, that is the national level. A group of people want to agitate against the government, what do you call it, demanding freedom or less government, or even want to take over the government. But the dimension changed right from September 11th, because September 11th was transnational, it was traditional, and then it was transcendent. Transcendent in the sense that those who carried out that attack cited religious issues into it, so religious justification. So that is why it was transcendent, even though that particular religion does not necessarily back that particular act carried out by the insurgents who blew out what do you call it, the Pentagon and then the World Trade Center. So it was also traditional, because it is a well-established fact that terrorists always target soft spots. They target non-combatants. And then it was also transnational, because it is not a group of people found within the state. They came from somewhere else, but were able to demonstrate the capability to carry out an attack and then target the symbolic part of the largest or the biggest military in the world, that is the United States of America. So since then, nationalism has permeated the local space. Almost, what do you call it, at every level. So when you look at insurgents groups like Ansar-id-Din, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, the Salafis in West Africa, and so on and so forth, yes, they cite or they take inspiration either from religious texts or the fatwas, the edicts released or given out by, what do you call it, clerics of ancient times. For example, when you look at ISIS, when they captured this Jordanian pilot, Mu'az al-Qasasbeh, in 2015, they confined him within a particular cage and then set him ablaze. But before doing that, they had to cite the fatwa of one of the renowned Muslim clerics of ancient time before setting him ablaze, just to show to the world that what they were doing was in line with this Islam, which in actual sense was not. So it is high time, what do you call it, the media, civil society organizations, policymakers, including international institutions, come together to look at the issue devoid of any, what do you call it, bias, to look at it deeply. Because no matter the situation, transnationalism will continue to permeate.
So I want to stay on that. In a case where you're calling on the media, CSOs, policymakers, clearly from the beginning, what we are going to do is to condemn the act, because that's an act of murder. Yet some people hold that position, and the position is that, and if you've seen a lot of the rhetorics from clerics, major clerics, people who are teachers of Islam. Okay, there's one on the end. There's Professor Ibrahim Makari. It should be known to everyone that we, the Muslim, have some red lines beyond which must not be crossed. Yes. The dignity of the Prophet is at the forefront of red lines. Yes. If our grievances are not properly addressed, then we should not be criticized for addressing them ourselves. This is deep. This is a professor, and I'm too sure a sheikh. That's also Bashir Ahmed on the screen. I can't pretend or keep silent. I support the death penalty for blasphemy. That's my belief, and I will never support Safe Canon 9. And these, you just lost 1 million votes. That's in the issue with the man who wants to contest for presidency. Is it in Nigeria, I guess, something about AA. But the point clearly is that we have major people who are teachers of these particular religions saying these things. And we cannot do anything but to watch because they have support. Where do we go from here?
Yes, I think you can still do something very, very significant.
Okay.
In the sense that, you see, it is an eyesore. It is extremely disturbing to see clerics who are supposed to champion peace, who are supposed to champion civility, who are supposed to champion tolerance, take a different, tone. It is a clear manifestation of the fact that the media needs to empower those who are bold, like us, to come out and speak and do justice to the issue. Because I am a Muslim, and there is no way I will ever support what happened in Nigeria.
Right.
Much as Deborah was, culpable, it doesn't mean the youth should take the law into their own hands. At this crucial juncture, it means the youth have arrogated themselves with legislative powers, executive powers, and judicial powers. Meanwhile, we have all these organs of state in place. So if this youth themselves, so it tells you that the youth are doing what they are doing as a result of the motivations being given to them by these renegades and scholars.
We'll take a break at this point. When we come, Mr. Zuma is still here. When we come back, I want to ask, so at any point, if anybody insults Jesus and is not part of the Christian community, must they be dealt with? If you insult, where do we draw the lines where words that are, termed or defined as blasphemous could cost you your life? Where do we draw the lines? All of these, especially when we're finishing. So I want that reminder quickly. But we're still here. We're speaking to Mr. Anas Sando, COR Mustafa Research and Resources Center for Interfaith Dialogue, Peace and Security. Of course, Mr. Vincent Azuma is head of monitoring and evaluation at WANEP. They are all still here in the studio. So at some point, I'm asking, where do we draw the line of blasphemy? And because I'm not too sure it's even in the law that we have as Africans, where when you are blasphemous against a particular person, you need to go to jail. So for people to even take the law into their own hands to deal with the person for being blasphemous, I don't know what court is going to judge that case, and I'm confused here. Maybe you have some answers.
Well, if you take the case of like the system we have in Ghana, you wouldn't find any law sentencing anyone for blasphemy. But if you go to states like Nigeria, where we have 12 states that have Sharia laws, in the Sharia law, there's a law against blasphemy. And so if you utter words or do things that are regarded as blasphemous, you could be sentenced according to that law. And so if you live in those states, you are supposed to be living within a certain Sharia culture. And so you should know that when you are in those states. So what happened in, say, Kano, you can mention the state, about 12 of them that I know. Those have those laws. And I remember, I think in 2020, a Muslim gospel musician was sentenced to death. Was sentenced to death because he actually posted certain things on social media. And that was 2020, just recently. And that became a huge issue in Nigeria. But now the question is, where do we draw the line?
Yeah.
Now, you see, religious tolerance means that even you, before you utter a word against another religion, you should also know that it may hurt their sensitivity.
Right.
So you should also consider the religious sensitivity of the other party.
Absolutely.
Before you say something. So even though if they attack you, it is wrong, you should also be mindful of what you say or what you do. You must respect each other's religion. So it is not only the one side that is wrong. If you attack me, you are wrong. But if I say something against your religion, something that I know will offend your sensibilities, then I am also in the wrong.
Right.
So it is both ways. You must all know that we have to respect each other's religion.
Right.
Even though we don't belong to that religion, we must stay in line and not abuse each other's religion. Even though violence is totally wrong in this case.
What does, Mr. Sando, what does the Sharia law state in terms of issues like this, especially with these particular ladies? What would the Sharia law recommend?
Okay, there is one specific verse in the Holy Quran, Quran chapter 5, verse 33,
Right.
which has outlined the way and manner the individual should be treated of blasphemy. When it describes blasphemy as one who wages war against God or his messenger, Prophet Muhammad, or any of the messengers. You can talk of Moses, Jesus, Isaac, Jacob, and what of you. Any one of them that you've, caricatured or denigrated, then you are either, that is within an Islamic state,
Right.
you are either to be executed or amputated or banished from the country or from the land to which you've gone contrary against their rules and regulations.
But does the law also state clearly what the waging of war, how does it describe what it really should be, the waging of war?
You see, the Holy Quran is a raw we believe the Holy Quran is a raw material for every civilization.
Right.
It talks about, it encompasses all aspects of human life. So waging of war here means the Holy Quran, Almighty Allah knew very well that trying to denigrate the role models of other religions
Right.
can lead to a devastation. So that is why it says, if you wage war against Almighty Allah or his messenger, or try to cause chaos upon the land, because when you do that, you are causing chaos, as we can see around the world. Whenever there is an issue of blasphemy, you see people going, it leads to nationwide looting, plundering, raiding, and ramshackling of issues, and even killings. So, but the most important thing that people should understand is that it doesn't mean when somebody is alleged to have committed blasphemy, the person should just be, murdered. Islam frowns upon instant justice. Assuming I am alleged to have blasphemed, first of all, I should be handed over to the appropriate authorities.
Okay.
And then there should be an investigation, because it is not every derogatory word or every blasphemy that smacks of execution or banishment. They have to look deep into the issue.
But these were not stated in the Quran, were they?
Yes, the commentary, the Holy Quran.
Okay.
Yes, there are commentaries regarding the Holy Quran.
But as to whether those young people have met those commentary is one other
Exactly,
question.
they've not even met those, listen, because that's why I said they've attributed themselves with certain powers. They enacted the laws, implemented the laws, and even settled. That means they've arrogated themselves to legislative, executive, and judicial powers. Meanwhile, all these institutions are found within the jurisdiction of, Sokoto. Let me just cite one example. During the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, there was a non-Muslim poet who was murdering the character of Prophet Muhammad. So his companions overheard him. But what was the reaction of the companions? They didn't, attack the man. They didn't kill the man. They went and informed the Prophet that this poet is using invectives, is insulting you. So the Prophet ordered for him to come. So the companions brought him, and then Prophet Muhammad looked at him, and then he said, "Where is my brother Ali?" Ali came, and then the Prophet said, go and cut off his tongue. So the companions were surprised. They wanted, some of them even followed and wanted to see the way and manner his tongue is going to be cut. So they reached at the point when Ali told the man to sit down. So he brought food, fed the man, and then he sent some people to investigate the family of the man. They found out that the man was absolutely destitute, absolutely poor. And then and then he had several children, and then one of them was at the point of death. So Ali gave the man 2 camels, and then with some amount of gold to sell, and then use the money to cater for his sick son, and then cater for his family. So the man asked, why are you treating me that way? And then Ali said, the one you were insulting asked me or instructed me to treat you this way. So the following night, the man wrote a scroll and then brought the scroll. The companions went and informed the Prophet Muhammad that when you ordered or instructed Ali to cut off the tongue, Ali disobeyed you. And then in Islamic law, disobeying the Holy Prophet means disobeying God. And for that matter, it attracts huge penalty. So the Prophet Muhammad told them that, wait, the following day, I will address you in the mosque. And then the man came to the mosque with a scroll praising Prophet Muhammad and even Islamized. So when he Islamized, then Prophet Muhammad said, when I said Ali should go take the man and then cut off his tongue, Ali understood me. So that was exactly what I said. So are you more ecclesiastical than the Holy Prophet Muhammad? I'm talking about the youth of Sokoto and those renegade and savage Malams, so-called Malams who are supporting the issue. Or are you trying to say that you are living in an Islamic state more than the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the one who brought the religion? So when you look at all these issues as a Muslim, you tend to ask questions whether those who are supporting this issue are really in their right state of senses. It is absolutely out of religion.
Right. Mr. Asma wanted to answer.
Yeah, and to buttress this point, even in the Quran, I think Surah 56, verses 25 to 27, the Prophet did say that fight against those who fight against you. But there is a big but. He said, but do not transgress the limits.
Yes.
So in this case, who is the judge here? As students, you are not supposed to have taken the law into your hands. You are supposed to take this lady to the appropriate authorities. The case will be judged, and if she's found guilty, she will be sentenced to whatever punishment that she would. You are not supposed to lynch her or maybe bend her to death and do all that kind of thing we saw. But my fear and my worry is this happened where? On a university campus. That is where we are supposed to be teaching and learning and training people who are supposed to have a broader mind, developmental mind, and understand issues and leaders of today and tomorrow. And these are the people who are taking the laws into their hands and causing mayhem. For me, that is what worries me most. So what kind of people are we growing in our universities? That is something that we need to be thinking about.
I see. So again, for me, I love the parts where, just as your organization says, interfaith dialogues, where we dialogue. Because if I understand that this is because for Sharia law, I have questions, but who answers that? It's you, because I don't belong to that particular religion. Again, the worry is that in Africa, we're fighting against poverty. We're fighting against corrupt leaders. And a country like Nigeria has been dealing with very corrupt leaders for a long while. Here's the case: instead of coming together to deal with the corrupt leaders and ensure that they free the country from their shackles, they are in arms with this intra-religious conflict. Again, the spokesperson of the Imam here has also spoken and has said they will not countenance on any action that is connected to this. Beyond that, what should we be doing as a country so that we don't have these coming in? Because a lot of Christians are worried, a lot of Muslims are also worried, and my fear is that probably, if not handled well, we might face some of these things. What should we be doing?
Yes, thank you. Whatever happens within the sub-region can happen anywhere within the sub-region. So what happened in Nigeria, we should not, what do you call it, fold our arms and say it happened in Sokoto for that matter. In Ghana, we are tolerant or what have you. We have equally Malams here and then some of the youth, Muslim youth, who support this issue. So for that matter, I think we need to deepen and expand the frontiers of interfaith dialogue. We need to champion the process of dialogue, interfaith harmony. Although the office of the National Chief Imam, the Ahl Sunnah office, the Shia office, the Ahmadiyya office, there had been some significant level of interfaith harmony between the Muslim community and then the Christian community. Appreciable level of interfaith dialogue, but we should not be complacent. Whenever issues of this nature come, there is the need for us to organize a round table conference and then digest the issue. It is not an issue where Muslims should come and then discuss among themselves. No. The, what you call the other religious denominations, the Christian, the Hindus, the traditional, we should all come on board to vent out and let out so that this mutual, what you call it, meeting can inform us about how the freedom of speech, what you call it, informs what do you call it, the issue of blasphemy, then we will not have any problem at all. But when it comes and then people will be discussing the issue separately, it doesn't augur well at all. There is the need for us to deepen and expand the frontiers of interfaith harmony and peace among the various religious denominations in the country. Yes.
What has one been doing as well? What have you been doing all throughout the period, even before this, in terms of deepening such if you like, tenets?
Well, we kind of, over the years, been finding out the causes of some of these conflicts and these wanton deaths and killings in parts of Africa, and now shifting down south to Ghana and a few other countries. So what are the causes? Now, some of the causes of these sectarial differences or conflicts could be traced to the quest for doctrinal supremacy, that my religion is stronger and better than yours. So what we do in our peace education programs is to educate the youth, especially, to accept each other as equal partners in development in the state. And then also, another thing that we found out that is causing some of these challenges is the fight over scarce resources, and then a fight over political power. So when this has happened, what we also do is to engage the duty bearers, who are the governments, to also meet with these communities to then explain what they are doing and what the people in the communities need. So then we also engage in the training and capacity building in dialogue and mediation. So for instance, if when this happened, if some of the student leaders would have met the lady and said, okay, why did you do this? So there will be some kind of mediation, and if she has to apologize, that comes in, and then she's let go and want not to do this again. But that did not happen. So that's some of the things we do. We go to institutions like universities and secondary schools to actually educate people in how to dialogue and mediate, and even go to the communities and train people who are like community mediators in those areas, who can then step in such cases and mediate along these cases. Like if you go to Nigeria, if you go to Jos, Adamawa, Gombe, and all those states that have some of these cases, those are the areas that we actually embed these training courses to ensure that a lot more people are beginning to dialogue and mediate instead of just taking the law into their own hands.
I see. So, I mean, clearly the issues, I don't know if you know the details of that particular, but for me, it's not about going back there, but it's mostly for me about what to do next in terms of how we continually accept in terms of your community, Muslims. If it is enshrined in the Quran and people do not get the benefit of some of these commentaries, and yet they go on trajectories such as this, then we are in trouble. So beyond the interfaith, the intra, what must be done more? Because yes, I've seen a lot more people where I can tell, it's not about your appearance, but I can just tell by how you behave that this is a person who has really read, deeply informed about Islam. Some others you see clearly there are ways of doing things. Don't you think you have a lot of things to do with your people as well? Because some of the things that are enshrined in there can be taking, you know, hook, line, and sinker, and if actions are, you know, done on this, we're in trouble.
Yes, that is true. I think the weight lies on this in the Muslim community to reform, to de-radicalize, to enlighten. You see, we also have different sects, and the reality is that, you see, the reluctance to offend a religious section of the a religious what do you call it, section of the population is one of the fundamental or cardinal factors that leads to extremism. It behoves on national security and all the security apparatus to up the ante, to what do you call it, to embark on intelligence sharing, to observe different kinds of Muslim communities, to see how the way and manner Malams educate their, what do you call, their congregants.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is very, very important.
So you think that the, I don't want to call it interference, but national security could monitor
exactly
faith-based
very, 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 very important to the security of this country and beyond. For instance, there was a Malam who was preaching to his the youth, and then he said, oh, if he was talking about another sect, and then he said, oh, if a member of this particular sect approaches here, I swear by Allah, we will execute him, we will kill him. So I took what they call it, it is in the video, and then sent it to national security. And then they called him and then cautioned him and made him even write what they call it, a bond, never to issue such. So if we take it into account to be doing this, I think it is going. It is going to what they call it, inject some level of sanity that we've not what they call it, that we cannot underestimate. So national security can come on board. All the police can also what they complement the efforts of the national security to be what, to be observing the way and manner Muslim clerics, the kind of words that comes out of what do you call that some Muslim clerics spew to the what do you call it, to the youth. So right now there are still some people, both the youth and Malams, who have what do you call, who are still on their grounds. That what happened to Deborah was legitimate, was justified. Meanwhile, you see, at the domestic level, there are three factors that are prevalent at the domestic level that are absent at the international space.
Okay.
We have what? Political authority to ensure law and order.
Right.
We have consensus of values. Whether you are a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, there is what you call consensus of values. And then a law that feeds down everyone, consensus of values, and then political authority. So whenever these things happen, sometimes if the politicians are also reluctant, because you know politicians always focus on a majority. So that is what is happening in Nigeria. Many Muslim clerics like Gumi, a famous Muslim, one of the Muslim clerics who contributed